Hey you, open your damn toys. Hello and welcome to Modern Toy Fair. I am your host, Mr. Modern Toy Fair, and I am joined by the founder of the NEC Illuminati, the delayer of shipments, the procrastinator of pre-orders, the perfect person, my YouTube wife, Mrs. Modern Toy Fair, Jarmar_games. But that's not all. I'm also joined by the man Modern Toy Fair has full custody over. The man Optimus Prime popped in and refuses to stop. The Twilight Knight, the master of Mac, the three-pump chump of taking this show off the rails, Nate. How you guys
happening?
Doing?
Hello. Just for the record, I wasn't paid to do this, nor was I really asked to. But I just wanted to throw this out here because you do have a long list of nicknames for us. It's been mentioned on the Patreon episode. If you don't have access to it, then you better sign up because you're missing out on some amazing stuff. However, we do have a nickname that needs to be added to Michael's list. Are you ready for this, Nate? This comes from one.
I'm ready.
Silkuma Taint.
Oh,
is that what it was? It says the cat burglar of credit.
First
and to figure that out, we don't have to go into detail.
No, I will not be slandered. I will not be slandered on my own show. God damn it!
Figure this out.
I did some research after you told us about this little screenshot. I went through my Twitch DMs. I am almost positive he said that joke in the actual live chat, because the only mentions of you as the delayer of shipments in my Twitch DMs that I could find were the day after the show that I first said it on, where he said, "Oh, I'm so excited that like you used that. Like I feel like a part of the show." And then once again, like months later in August, when he just called
his
you,
lawyers were like, "Hey, where's this check?"
And I went back all the way through June. I could not find any mention of it. So if he would like to supply me with screenshots where he DM'd me that, he is welcome to. But as far as I'm concerned, it was in live chat, which makes it a part of the show.
That's your defense.
Or you just let our most active patron just let it go.
I don't let anything go. This is my show, and I will not let it go if I want to.
Burglar of credit, Michael. Mr. Modern Toy Fair.
I love it. It goes in. There is like, there's going to be like an asterisk. That's what's going to suck. There's going to be an asterisk. So like where we have like Modern Toy Fair has like an R behind it because it's a registered trademark.
Yeah.
Cat Burglar of Credit will have a TM by it because it's actually not part of the overall ownership because Michael does not own that per se. Silkuma Taint gets a 0.0000004 per year payment on that trademark.
So in 30 years, he'll have a penny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
you got to compensate people.
That's what we're out there fighting for with the strikes is, residuals and royalties. Right now, the little man's getting screwed. And Silkuma, I don't mean that in any other way because I've never seen you. So, let's move on.
But yeah, and if you just don't understand what's happening,
you need to go to the Patreon.
Just sign up for the Patreon for just
$5.
$5, and you too can get that amazing exclusive episode.
And you know what? I'll one up the. I think it's the Twilight Knight tier, which is the $5 tier. That tier has a free trial. So you have the opportunity. You could go and listen to it for free and then decide if you'd like to stay and stick around for more months to come. So
which you should.
You
but
should.
Yeah, that was not an ad or paid segment. I just wanted to get that out the way.
But,
technically,
it was paid.
It was a paid segment.
Yeah, technically, yeah. Yeah.
Everyone loves ads right in the front of their YouTube video, so let's go into.
I mean, I'm pretty sure one runs in front of the video anyway, so I don't know if.
Well, I mean, like sponsored.
We should edit this whole section out and put it at the beginning of every show as our commercial.
There we go.
Because that doesn't seem like a bad idea at all.
I mean, it seems like a moderately bad idea.
TikTok. There we go. Or shorts. Apparently people like those.
Listen,
So what are we
I did some experiments with the shorts, like diverging from what I normally put out, and people don't want to have anything to do with our shorts unless it's just the behind the scenes of the photography, apparently, because I tried to do one of the reviews, and I've done a few with like clips from like this and stuff, and they do not do well.
Your work appeals to the lesser minded, the people that need the quick. Our stuff hits more with an intellectual crowd.
I'm just glad that a lot of the people who watch the like reviews don't watch the podcast, because that would have probably not have gone over well.
Well, we're about to piss a bunch of people off anyway, so let's just add them.
Yeah, we've wasted about 5 minutes.
Are not going to see this.
Look,
listen. This is the free one. If they don't like this for 5 minutes, I don't know what to tell them. This one's free.
That's also
the one you pay $5 for is a lot of this. Like a lot of this.
Yeah, except for less insulting the intelligence of the viewer, more just more insulting the intelligence of the viewer because they had to watch it rather than it being like a literal like forthcoming.
Again, the people who are watching, they're the people who are the ones that I'm complimenting.
They get it.
They get it. The short-minded ones are not going to see this. Because it's too long. It's already too long. They were like, when you were like, "Oh, I'm Mr. Modern Toy Fair," like they would have already.
Why do I sound like fucking Kermit the Frog?
I don't know. Sometimes you're Kermity. I don't know what to tell you. You freak out. You throw your hands in the air. Like it's a whole thing. People, and I'm sorry. I'll say this and then we'll get started.
That's not a good way to start a sentence.
I can't.
But people have lost their. They have been brainwashed by memes into thinking that Kermit is a calm, even-keeled person just sipping his tea. That's not Kermit. The OG Kermit was a fucking stress ball ready to burst at any moment. And he was just trying to get everything done right because he had a bunch of fucking Muppets running around doing a bunch of bullshit while he's trying to take care of business.
So hard.
So when I'm doing an impression of you, yeah, you sound a little Kermity. I don't know. I take it as a compliment.
I mean, just because I can relate to his struggle, I get it.
Yeah.
Bunch of fucking Muppets running around.
I feel like the younger generations don't understand. They don't know what Kermit truly is. It's like they don't understand Bugs Bunny is a total asshole. Like, he's the worst. Okay, no, let's start the show.
So this is getting like way off the rails. So the reason you clicked on this video, assuming you're still here at this point, 7 minutes in.
We can edit this part and put it at the end if you want.
Nope, it's staying in. That's how the podcast works.
All right.
Oh god.
We're here to discuss whether or not you should open your toys.
Which seems less exciting compared to
So I want to start off with just like
the Patreon thing and the t-shirts.
All three of us have a mix within our collection of things that we keep.
Yeah.
Boxed and not boxed. Some of them because we just don't open our toys because we don't have time or forget about them. Some for display purposes and some because they're in a closet somewhere. So it just kind of varies. So I want to start with the question of like, what are some reasons why you guys keep some things boxed?
Yeah, well, Nate, I'll go first because I feel like mine's always the short answer. No, actually, I feel like yours might be a shorter answer than mine would be. Because mainly my things, the only things I've been opening, or only things I don't open, I should say, because that's the question that you asked me, Michael, correct? Are either like vintage turtle figures that I have on card that I just couldn't bring myself to open because at that point it's just like, that's just a very disrespectful thing I feel like in general to do, but also newer series of turtles that I get from Playmates specifically. I keep on the card just because I like to have the display of the old ones mixed with the new. So going from like some of the Playmates to, well, it's all Playmates, I guess I should say, but some of the original series to 2003 to 2012 to Rise to now, like having those versions of the Four Turtles and Rocksteady Bebop and April, all that, you know, I like to have those on the card. So that's pretty much my only reason for having things on the card. And then as of late, basically the Spider-Man line that I have for Beyond the Spider-Verse is on card just because they feel so nice and high quality that I'm just afraid to open it. That's basically
so I have a quick question.
No follow-ups.
Nope, I have one anyway. So your feeling of being disrespectful to those OG figures if you open them, is that because of the nostalgia or because of value?
Oh, definitely not value, because as we will discuss later, my collection is not value or based on any kind of value or assumption that I will sell these at any point in time. But I just like the card itself. Like, let's do a physical thing because this is actually right behind.
I thought you were going to take us on a little tour or something.
Ooh, a little dusty here, but these Jim Lee, which I can't get it to, you know, fully, but the art is just so cool. And it's just the idea that this is still on card, not so much the nostalgia of like, oh my god, I remember this packaging or anything. It's just that this is so cool to see it how it was when it was on the shelf, I guess, if that makes sense. As opposed to opening the figures. I have no problem with opening these and having them on the shelf, but this to me is like the total package. This is this figure, if that makes sense. So like if I had these loose, I would be just as happy, but these are on card and they're not protected or anything like that, so I'm not saving them to resell them. It's just cool as fuck.
See, I liked your explanation of why you keep those on card better in your top 10 video, but people have to go watch that to...
Well, yeah, I mean, these ones specifically are important to me, but I'm just saying that, like, it's not because I'm planning on reselling them that I keep them on card, if that...
Yeah, it's not... You don't care about it, like, keeping them worth, like, their value up.
Yeah.
It's more so just a personal thing.
Yeah. I also have a pizza frisbee, too. It's pretty cool.
Nate, you had a question as well?
Well, I wanted to know, are you going to ask me that same thing, or can I jump in with that when it comes to like vintage things?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think that's just a certain level of respect as well. So like I couldn't put it into either one of those categories like Jarmar could either. It's not necessarily for nostalgia solely, and it's not necessarily for value per se, because you know I have a lot of things that I don't plan on selling. But there gets to be a certain age of a figure where it becomes I feel uncomfortable to open it because it has lasted a certain amount of time, and because you know there's way less of them in existence, you know, that are like that. And so I really have to like I struggle with that because I've come across really good deals on carded vintage figures, and I've most of the time ended up doing some sort of trade for a nice loose complete one so that carded one could stay carded and I would get what I wanted out of it.
That's even a nice little step further. But like responsibility, probably like because
you are
you're like historian kind of thing is where you're going with
yeah.
You're preserving the past.
Conceivably, it could outlive you.
Mm-hmm.
So you are just currently the courier of that item, and it's up to you how you take care of it.
Wow, that's deep.
Which is not to say, but it's not to say that like.
I mean, jokes on you, both your kids are going to throw away everything you fucking own.
Right. Exactly. So, and again, that's how then less and less of those exist each generation. Mm-hmm. So that's where I come from on that, because it's neither and both.
Right.
Indiana Nate over here trying to be like, it belongs in a museum.
I mean, it truly does, and I don't think we're that far away from seeing something like that, an actual toy museum. Like, I feel like some sort of really cool. You know,
not gonna lie, I would suggest that we do that, but unfortunately, our show is called Modern Toy Fair, so I can't. So
we don't do that.
Yeah, I can't endorse that idea.
Right.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Nate, you want to start a channel called retro
Vintage toy fair. Yeah.
I mean, we could do a sub channel where you guys have your own little
Oh
thing.
no,
where you
no,
talk
no!
old
Don't
stuff.
try and take
We
the
could...
credit now,
No,
Catherine. Like,
no, I'm saying
you.
that we could. I'm saying that's like not a bad idea to break into that retro crowd. Like the two of you love your retro stuff. We could have an entire separate podcast that is just the two of you, and I do the behind the scenes shit instead of.
I can't make. I'll tell you off air.
I have a feeling I know what it is. Yeah, so I definitely like. I can respect the way you guys look at it. I unfortunately don't have that same respect for the past. I look at it as from day one, these are made to be open. Otherwise, they wouldn't have articulation. They'd be statues. So unless I spent like a stupid amount of money, like a amount that I like probably shouldn't have, and even then, there's still a 50-50 shot that I'll do it anyway. I just look at it as it's mine. I paid for it. I'm either going to open it, or if I have a purpose for why I'm not opening it, then that'd be different.
I definitely can see you do that, but you don't buy vintage.
I don't. Like the only time I'd ever buy vintage is for like some signature related stuff. So like Lauren Lester, I plan on having him sign the old Robin figure, or like I'm currently maybe taking a 3-hour drive to a certain toy store this weekend so I can pick up a 2003 Donatello figure to get signed when I'm in Portland. So there's like just little things like that like I will keep it on card because that's the purpose of it. While other things like, hell, I've got the retro style Marvel Legends X-Men figures that I got signed, and I kept them on card because I wanted to get them signed and because I just love the way the cards look. And those are probably the only thing currently that I have on card are those. I'll have the Donatello and the Robin when I get those signed, but everything else is pretty much opened, or I guess been opened and then reboxed, because a lot of stuff comes in like normal boxes, not the clamshells or the retro cards anymore. I know there are like the OG reason to keep things in the box was always, you got to preserve its value. It's a collectible. Like it was a sin to open your toys. And I feel like that mentality has definitely subsided. There's still a group that like lives in that world, and good for them. I mean, we'll talk about it here in a moment, but I personally don't think that investment's there anymore. But it's a lot more. You see a lot more people, having displays and posing figures and enjoying all the things about these figures. And I don't know. Like I feel like there's some things that have a reason to be on card, but most things I feel like it should be open. Like there's literally people in these studios like all throughout the world making these toys and giving them all this cool accessories and articulation. Like it almost to me feels insulting to them to then be like, it's gonna sit on a box because like all the work they put into it.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
that's good, I was already done talking.
But I mean, in the same breath, though, you do have, again, I can only speak on the things that I can speak on because I have experience with them. But you have people like NECA who put so much detail in the packaging. And even like Super 7 does the same thing, to where they do present it in a way that if you wanted to leave it in the box, you have like this still great, like looking figure and box and everything. So I'm in the mind too, like, not any reasons to do it, but I'm just saying Super 7 does a great job of like letting you display your figure and the box, and it's like a whole total package. So I can't say that like their only goal is for you to open it and pose it, but they also understand that. I think a lot of companies do understand that, except for companies like Hasbro Packaging going back on that. But yeah, that.
So hear me out though, because you ended there perfectly for how I wanted to address this. Is that them showing passion for those who don't want to take the figures out, or is that literally just a marketing ploy so that way they don't fuck themselves out of sales? Because Hasbro proved if you fuck with the packaging, you lose a portion of your sales for those who are inbox collectors. So
I can't get on board with that, only because when you look at like serialized things, and by serialized I mean things with numbers, like all of the Toon like ultimate packs and stuff like that, looking like the OG like VHS kind of like color and style. Then you have like the last Ronin figures with the side panel that all the boxes together create like another image. Like there's different things that I think sure probably gimmicks, but at the same time I don't think that they're just like, we have to do this so people who keep it in the box do it. I think it's just a fun extra detail because of how detailed like some of these companies are. Again, using NECA as an example, I'm sorry, but they are meticulous with like details on the figures and the box and the packaging. So I think it's just the total experience together, not just we just want you guys to whoever keeps it in the box, I want them to buy it too.
I agree with you.
I think they care,
but I feel like NECA's the exception of the rule because they're trying
Super
to pull. They're trying to pull from that nostalgia with most of their stuff, or they're trying to like get you to be like, oh wow, that looks great, because ultimately NECA figures are the worst ones to be in the box because unless you sit there like open book style, you can't see the fucking figure anyway.
True.
So you're literally just buying a pretty cardboard box.
The package is like an experience.
It is, and but
like
again,
it's a part of the experience.
I don't think that is necessarily like. That's just them having the love for everything that they're doing and trying to make it that full package. I think they're the exception to the rule though, because Super 7 boxes, for the most part, they're all the same across all their lines for the Ultimates, just with slight variations to make it like individualized. But ultimately, like it's
if window and like coloring and like how the figures are in, like the backdrop of the figures that. I think they present it like, hey, you could put these on the shelf in just the box without the slipcover, and you have like a great display for it if you wanted to do that.
I agree, but I still think Super 7
also they have really poor,
for the
joint sometimes, so maybe keeping it in a box is a good thing. So I'm just
true.
saying.
Super 7 may be the one company that is trying to do it for the inbox collectors primarily.
But yeah, that's what I was saying.
Do you have any thoughts on?
Well, I have lots of thoughts
on this specific topic that we're talking about with the marketing versus love.
I'm sorry, what?
Marketing versus like love of the product?
Oh, that is not what okay. Because I heard that part. It was the all right. So anyway,
after the show.
Yeah, after the show, you're going to have to write that down so we can know what you thought it said.
Oh, I won't remember.
That doesn't write down.
Because like I am generally not a mint on card or carded collector, except when it comes to certain things, and one of which is vintage collection. And that's where Jarmar comes in because it does have numbers on it. And even though the numbers aren't visible to me, I know the numbers. The figures are in the number order. I am an idiot when it comes to that. And then I also have, my Dragon Ball collection as far as the old 2000s like Irwin toys and the Bandai Super Battle collection. Now, at the time, Super Battle collection was vintage. The Irwin was new, but I mean, the Irwin stuff is now over 20 years old. So those are now vintage. It originally was a necessary thing on my part because of the apartment I lived in at the time. I didn't have room to have figures everywhere, so they just went on my wall, and I just kept them that way because it was easier. But then that brings me to like SH Figure Arts. I do not understand why you would buy an SH Figure Arts figure of anything and leave it in the box. That's idiotic and ridiculous. I don't even think the packages are that great. They're nice in the fact that they're uniform and they're clean and they have a certain look, and that's cool. But I don't care about the figures in there. All the good stuff is in that box, and you don't even get to see it all. And so, like, that tells me right there, that's marketing in the sense that, okay, all the figures look similar in these boxes, but people are going to want to open this figure because, they want a better look at it. And they make incredibly articulated figures. And those, for the most part, I mean, yeah, sealed will get you, maybe more if you want to sell them, but those tend to retain their value anyway. You just have to have the box.
Mm-hmm.
That's the interesting part there. If you don't have the box, nobody wants them. It's weird. Like,
that's so odd.
Because, I put my boxes in a box and I put them away. But I do save them. Why? I don't know.
I think it's like, I almost think it's maybe like a mentality of, if it doesn't have the box, it feels more used. It feels more garage sale-y than
Right.
than less like you're getting it from a collector. So like if someone disrespected it to the point that they threw away the box, like how dare they? Like they clearly didn't
Right.
take care of this figure, so why would I want to buy it? Like especially like usually people trying to sell it out of the box are charging like $10 less than with the box. So at that point, just get it with the box, kind of thing.
Right.
So like I definitely get that. And I guess the next step would be to talk about, you know, all the different reasons for why someone would take their figures out of the box. I mean, we already discussed, you know, articulation and accessories and all that. Like there's so much that you get. Like, why would you keep it? But for the stuff you guys do take out, why do you choose that to display out of box versus the stuff that you display in box?
Well, pretty much. I mean, you know, I think you kind of even nailed it early on when you said that you don't think that the market is there. I do think that for the most part, the people who are currently involved in this hobby community, whatever you want to call it, have moved on from that and are enjoying what they're buying for the most part. Yes, they may keep some figures carded because they like the packaging or something like that, but a lot of times they'll buy two for them because really people want to enjoy these things. Life sucks. You know, this is their getaway, this is their hobby, this is their thing,
Jarmar?
and they want to enjoy it to the fullest potential that they want to. And you know, there's nothing like, you know, you get the cool fuzzies because you're opening up a new toy like you were a kid because you bought it because you wanted it and you didn't have to ask your parents for it or whatever. But then there's like the awesome thing where it's so much better than what it was when you were a kid, like because the figure is so much better, it moves better, it looks better, the whole thing. It's just a great experience. And yeah, it costs a lot, but you still want to get that use. That's why you're seeing a rise of photography. That's just a more acceptable way of playing with your toys. You know, we're not as creative as we used to be when we were 9. So as far as like creating storylines and getting involved and down in the floor and doing it, so we take them and we put them in cool poses and we take pictures of them and blow up prints and hand it out to our friends and they go, that's very fucking cool. Like that's the kind of thing that we get to do now. So I think that's like the biggest reason, and that's like the biggest increase because in like dioramas and that's why I think we're seeing like a rise on all these third-party companies too, because it accentuates what they already have, or they have new ways of doing it because they want to display it, not because they have any attachment to a box.
That's beautifully put. What
your
I'm
turn.
going to add to that is way less articulate than what you said. But I think for me, and I kind of like fell behind because of like not opening things, and I'm sure Nate, you can agree to this, of like where you start to have those boxes of things that are like stacking up. And I kind of started to think of like, what's the point of me buying this? Like, I'm not really enjoying these figures. It's not like I just have a box. Hey, this one came out. All right, cool. Pre-order. Okay, found it at Target. Cool. And then I just put it with the rest of the stuff, and now it's on the like in a shelf. So like recently started opening those things and getting rid of the boxes and organizing the accessories, and it has become kind of like a second wind of like excitement for them. Coincidentally, there's not like much coming right now, so this is a perfect time for me to do that before like, you know, I get the alert that there's 16 waves coming in November. So I think that is probably the biggest thing for me, is it's helping me appreciate the things that I purchase, where instead of it just being this is what I bought, it's now, oh, I got this, and oh, what accessories do I want to put on it? How do I want to pose it? Where do I want to put it? And then like putting the boxes away is kind of like closing that chapter on that figure and knowing that it's actually mine versus just sitting in a box. So I think to me, if I wasn't opening some of these newer things, it would become like burnout, or I get a little bit less appreciation for it. Because at this point, we joked about it, and I used to make a comment about this all the time on every episode. is if you're buying it and it's not opening it, you're basically buying an NFT, but it's physical. And like no one likes NFTs. But that's kind of what you're doing is you own this physical thing that you're just looking at it until you can open it and appreciate it and complain that it broke in 5 seconds. That's a part of the experience.
Right.
with NECA specifically.
I was that seems like a very targeted response there, Jarmar.
But yeah, I mean, that to me is a part of the experience and it gets me excited. And then, of course, the sappy thing to say is opening it and sharing it with my kid and having like the excitement that he brings of like seeing something new open. That is what, like, why I'm still excited to buy these things and share that is because of that. Not just because I have it and it's on my shelf. Like, I could collect quarters if I wanted just to own something specific. It's because I have these and I want to show them off in a certain way and stuff. So that's why I opened it. I think that was pretty articulate. I think that was pretty
Yeah. I loved it.
I was not expecting that when you started, when you're like, mine's not going to be nearly as nuanced.
Because toys are fun.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I like to open my toys.
I like turtles.
That would have been the greatest response.
That would have been actually better.
That would have been perfect.
That would have been better. I take it back. I take everything I said back.
So, like, I'm kind of right there with you guys. Like, I open mine solely because, like, what's the point of me buying these things if I'm not gonna enjoy them?
Yeah.
Like, just sitting it in a box just seems boring. Like, I take photos, I pose them on my shelf. Every couple months I'll go through and redo the shelves. Like, there's so many things you can do, and as we discussed, like, briefly, and Nate kind of brought back up, the market's just not there anymore. Like, you can go and buy as many inbox things as you want, but unless you're holding on to them for 5+ years,
and more than that, you got to be very specific. It has to.
You can't
all
just
of a sudden
willy
its
nilly.
own Disney Plus show, and like there are instances, but you either have to put a real long game into it and hope something pans out, or you have to pony up for some of these big items. That's expensive, and your return is ultimately
not worth it.
Probably not
especially
worth it.
Because realistically, even a few years later, they don't necessarily go up. Some of them go down. Look at the Sentinel.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That has kind of
bottomed
out.
Yeah,
Galactus
is probably the one that's, because people bought multiples of those thinking they were going to sell them to make their money back, but everybody bought a Galactus, and the problem is you can't army build Galacti.
Mm-hmm. But they do have those different heads, so you could have him as Dr. Doom fighting himself.
You could, not most people don't want to do that at that price point. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I agree,
but then you have something like the Barge where everyone slept on it, and it went quadruple what it originally cost.
Yeah, realistically, all these things are being made in bigger and bigger numbers, so they're more available, which is killing the aftermarket, making the whole value collecting thing kind of pointless unless you're getting into real high end stuff that's like limited. And even then, the market's not necessarily there because everyone's struggling with money. So, like, I know people who are trying to sell older stuff. I know people who are trying to sell hot toys, and they're just having a hard time finding buyers because unless you find that right person who's looking for that thing and you have the deal that's worth it to them, people are being a little
and that's
more,
it right there. It's frugal. The deal. You're probably going to lose money at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to take it at a loss, or you're going to take it at retail, and because everybody's doing this. That's the thing. A lot of people got into this for the wrong reasons, or whatever, or they're getting out of it for whatever reasons. I'm going to shut up now.
And I'm here for it, though. I'm glad that the value collecting is kind of on the downturn, and it's like pivoting the other way, because I feel like value collecting has done nothing but hurt it doesn't necessarily the industry, but the hobby, because then you have people having to waste fucking car payments on stuff simply because someone bought 30 of them and there was a limit of 100 or something like that, like, which is a huge exaggeration, but still like the same concept.
Well,
here we go.
Michael.
Yeah.
You are the one who has argued with me multiple times about how it actually helps the hobby of people buying up large amounts of figures to then resell later. So if it's on the decline, does that mean that this hobby itself is on the decline?
I mean, technically, yes. Look at the shelves at Target. Everything's going on clearance. We've literally had this discussion where I've said that it technically like helps the hobby, but now it's flooded to the point where it not helps it helps the industry because it helps the companies make their money, but in return it screws us. So like there's really no everybody wins situation. Either the companies, take a little bit of a hit because their stuff's not selling as well because there's too much of it, or they make less and it gets bought up by people who are going to try to sell it for 2 to 3 times and it fucks us. So like there's not really a win-win-win scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So in your world, the consumer is always wrong. And
I mean, from working retail for over a decade, the consumer is always wrong.
No, that's the customer. That's But yeah, no, I just wanted to call that out because you did say that.
Yeah, I
you're
never
excited
I did
about the fact that it is good declining, which then means you're excited about the fact that the hobby is dying.
I mean, the hobby's not dying though. The hobby's thriving. It's the industry, the companies that are making them that are the ones that are taking the hit, not us.
The hobby is once again transforming. Like we've had to do this every few years. It has to change a little bit in order to sustain itself because like comics, not to the extent, but it's a lot of dudes in their 30s and 40s and 50s.
Yeah, there's not as many new faces joining the...
Yeah, I mean, there's not as many... Because kids aren't as nostalgic because we're getting now... The adult world is getting kids who didn't collect action figures. They just played games and played on their iPads.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, we may see, this hobby die out. I feel bad because, I think I may have mentioned this before on the show, but my dad collects toy soldiers because that was like the toy of his youth. And he talks about how like, there's really not a huge market for it because that group is dwindling daily. I mean, it's just
so sad. I didn't want to cry on the podcast, but geez.
And because there's not younger people involved in that. So then the value keeps dropping because nobody really wants it. Like, what is this? Like,
yeah.
Because like our generation, like the kids that grew up, the 70s and 80s, like what? Like our action figures at least had 5 points of articulation. Get the fuck out of here with something that stuck to its stand.
I will say this: there's a little bit of nostalgia for people who grew up with Toy Story though, because they had the toy soldiers.
Those guys are like
that's like a very small Venn diagram, right?
That's on the list of important Toy Story characters that any kid would want. Like,
if you're a completionist, which you should be able to relate to, you need them to complete your Toy Story Andy's room.
And you know what? Disney probably has me covered with official Toy Story.
And then they're going to be brighter green than the kind of darker, dingier green that you're going to get normally. So I get it. All right. Before we close out, Nate, I did send you the Patreon input for the week if you'd like to dramatically read that off.
This is going to be tough. I have been coughing a little bit.
Well, luckily there's only one, so it shouldn't be too tough.
All right. You did send it to me. I have it.
I may have sent it to you while I was doing the intro.
All right. You should open them so that when you invite the neighbor's children over, they have something to play with. Otherwise, as a single 33-year-old man, it gets weird.
I just love the minute and a half of silence before we...
The pregnant pause right there.
I feel bad for the audio listeners. Also, I feel like that was an attempt to like a shot at me, but joke's on you. I'm 32
Oh, at
and
the end there. Oh.
I'm 32 and I am not single, so suck it.
But you are weird. And
I am weird.
And you're admitting that you normally invite children over.
No, he's saying you
should.
should. No, he said that you should. Otherwise, he said you should open them to invite children over, or it is weird. I don't do that. I'm not single, and I'm not 33.
So, but you do.
But you do invite children over, and you want them to play with something.
That's not at all.
It's okay.
I literally said that I'm the opposite of what he said. But that's a nice try,
I don't think
guys.
32 is the opposite of 33.
It's close enough to the opposite. It has a 2 instead of a 3. But either way, like at the end of the day, it was clearly.
I don't think you know what opposites are.
I don't think you know what opposites are. Speaking of opposites, it's time for us to close out the show, which is the opposite of the opening of the show. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, and you aren't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. Helps us out here at the channel and gets you tutorial-related content in your feed, including reviews, how to pose videos, the weekly live stream, and the weekly podcast. You can check us out Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Modern Toy Fair. If you're already a fan of the channel, though, you can head over to patreon.com/Modern Toy Fair. We have a bunch of different tiers of different rewards. A couple of them do have free trials if you'd like to check it out first before you buy it, including the Patreon exclusive episodes, which we talked about at the beginning of the show. If you're still here, clearly you're interested. Go take advantage of the free trial. You never know, you might be into it. Or you might just think they were a bunch of rambling idiots, which we kind of are. You can check us out also, tbook.com/Modern Toy Fair, where we have shirts, mugs, all sorts of different stuff with the logos and inside jokes from the live stream. Check those out. Link in the description below. You can check Jarmar out over at TikTok.com/Jarmar_games. You can, and Nate, what you got?
I don't have anything. I thought I had something, and then it was like, that's terrible. And then I thought, yes, it is terrible. And I didn't say it, and I didn't have enough time. So I'm sorry.
So it's the absolute terrible podcast. Got it.
No, not the podcast. Well, yeah.
I got you.
Okay.
Alrighty then. On that note, hopefully see you next week. Same toy time, same Toy Fair channel. Thank you for watching.